Hi everyone, I'm back again. Thank you so much for coming to spend some time with me today. I'm going to pick up at the end where I left off at the end of my previous video, where I was talking about things to be positive and to focus on during this crazy time. But I wanted to just do a separate video on books, because I think it's one of the best ways that we can spend our time, and you can travel in a book without leaving your armchair. Now, I have some that I've read and some that I haven't, and I do find that I've been reading an awful lot more. And before I go on, I'm really sorry that the last video ended so quickly, but the format of iMovies that I have on my iPad will only allow me upload 15 minutes of a video, and if I go over by a few seconds it won't allow me, so I'll have to edit it and so on. Well, I do edit anyway, but it makes it very difficult. You suddenly realise, oh gosh, I have 30 seconds left. So I'm sorry about the very abrupt ending. But anyway, we are talking about books today. So I have a good few recommendations. As I say, some I've read and some I haven't. So I'm going to start with one that I finished recently, and I did mention it in one of, I think it was in my February favourites. I hadn't quite finished it, and this is a book by Jewell, and it's called Before I Met You. And this is a really good read, really good read. I so enjoyed it. It tells the story of Betty and Arlette. Arlette is the grandmother, but not by blood, of Betty, and they both lived on the island of Guernsey in this beautiful house, and they both had lived in, well, the grandmother had lived in London in the 20s, and the story is being told in the 90s. But when Arlette dies, and I'm not giving anything away, Betty she gets some money as her inheritance, and she goes off to London to sort of seek her fortune and to trace her grandmother's steps and the twists and turns along the way and the mysteries. A very good read, a very easy read, pretty well written, but it definitely keeps you turning the pages. So that's a really good one. I did finish it, and it's, the ending is good. Let me see. This is one I just finished at the weekend, and it's a library book that I picked up, and strangely enough called The Librarian, and it's by Sally Vickers, another good read. I did enjoy this. It is about a lady called Sylvia Blackwell. It's set, I think, it's set in England in a little market town called Eastmole, and I think it's set in the 60s, 50s, 60s. She's in her 20s, and she becomes a children's librarian in Eastmole, and it's about her life there, and basically she becomes involved with an older married man, and then there's his daughter and another child that are pertinent to the story and how the whole kind of community reacts to books, that they reading material in general, and people's perception of what's appropriate and not appropriate. Sally Vickers has written, I think she wrote Miss Garnet's Angel, and it says here The Cleaner of Chartres. I did enjoy this. I really did. Kind of an easy read as well, particularly for this time, and set back in the past a little bit, so it's kind of reminiscent. Let me see. Do I have another that I've read? Oh yes, this one. Now, I read this a long time ago. The Pursuit of Happiness by Douglas Kennedy. And I'm sure many of you have read this. This is so well loved, and it's been passed to so many people. Look at the state it's in. It's just a page turner. And if I hadn't known at the time that it was written by a man, I would have sworn it was written by a woman, because he writes female characters so well. It's a tragic love story, a tale of divided loyalties and the random workings of destiny. Manhattan, Thanksgiving Eve, 1945. The war was over, and Eric Smith's party was in full swing. All his clever Greenwich Village friends were there. So too was his sister Sarah, an independent, canny young woman starting to make her way in the big city. And then in walked a gatecrasher, Jack Malone, a US Army journalist just back from a defeated Germany, a man whose worldview did not tally with that of Eric and his friends. This chance meeting between Jack and Sarah would have profound consequences. I cried when this was over. You know, when you read a book that when you're coming to the end, you want to finish it, but you don't want to finish it. That's one of those books. I highly recommend it. It's a good long read as well. There's over 600 pages in it. He's a fabulous writer, and I have several other of his books as well. So that one I would highly recommend. Now, at the moment I'm reading a book called The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. I've never read any of her books before, but my daughter loves her books and has read several of them. And this is, as I say, it's called The Secret Keeper. And again, it's, you know, those tales that are told between two time eras. So this is set initially in the 60s. It's actually set in the late 40s as well. Or around the, well, no, not late 40s, mid 40s. And so between sort of mid 40s, the early 60s, and then 2011. And it's a family story, and there's a secret. I'm not explaining it very well now. I'm only about 100 pages in, but on a sweltering summer's day, while her family picnics by the stream on their Suffolk farm, 16-year-old Laurel hides out in her childhood treehouse, dreaming of the bright future she can't wait to seize. But before the idyllic afternoon is over, Laurel will have witnessed a shocking crime that changes everything. In 2011, now a much-loved actress, Laurel finds herself overwhelmed by shades of the past. Haunted by memories and the mystery of what she saw that day, she returns to her family home and begins to piece together a secret history, a tale of three strangers from vastly different worlds, Dorothy, Vivian and Jimmy, who were brought together by chance in wartime London and whose lives become fiercely and fatefully entwined. Shifting between the 30s and the 60s and the present, The Secret Keeper is a spellbinding story of mysteries and secrets, murder and enduring love. And so far, I'm loving it. Kate Morton certainly drags you straight into the story. There's no kind of preamble. It just grabs your attention, and I'm really enjoying it. It's beautifully written as well. Her creation of characters, her narration, but also the creation of the setting is really, really beautiful. So I would recommend that. Now, I have a pile of other books that I haven't read. This one is by Jodi Picoult, and it's The Storyteller. I'm really looking forward to reading this because it's about a character called Joseph Weber, and I think he's German. He's been hiding in plain sight. For 70 years he's been hiding in plain sight. He's a pillar of the local community, but he is also a murderer. When Joseph decides to confess, it is to Sage Singer, a young woman who trusts him as her friend. What she hears shatters everything she thought she knew and believed. As Sage uncovers the truth from the darkest horrors of war, she must follow a twisting tale between terror and mercy, betrayal and forgiveness, love and revenge. It's the first person accounts of what happened in the Holocaust are absolutely harrowing. There are descriptive passages that make you catch your breath. A beautifully woven story, the humour and characters wrap themselves around you, daring you to stop reading. I was going to read this after I'd finished The Librarian, and then I decided no, I'd go to The Secret Keeper because this sounds possibly a little bit heavier than some of the others, but I am excited to read it. I love kind of stories that are to do with or set in and around the time of the war. And tying in with that, I have another one which is called All the Light We Cannot See, and it's by Anthony Douer. This one here, now this is well used as well because it's been passed around the family, and again it's set in the Second World War. Open your eyes and see what you can with them before they close forever. For Maurier, blind since the age of 6, the world is full of mazes. The miniature of a Paris neighbourhood made by her father to teach her the way home. The microscopic layers within the invaluable diamond that her father guards in the Museum of Natural History. The walled city by the sea, where father and daughter take refuge when the Nazis invade Paris, and a future which draws her ever closer to Werner, a German orphan, destined to labour in the mines until a broken radio fills his life with possibility and brings him to the notice of the Hitler Youth. In this magnificent, deep-moving novel, the stories of Marie-Laure and Werner illuminate the ways, against all odds, people try to be good to one another. And my husband has read this, my mother-in-law has read this, several, and they've all raved about it. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's kind of a theme. This one I'm really curious to read, and it's by Daphe du Maurier, My Cousin Rachel. She also wrote Jamaica Inn and, of course, Rebecca. How did I forget that? But I got this for Christmas, and I'm really excited to read that. So yeah, set in Cornwall. Orphaned at an early age, Philip Ashley is raised by his cousin Ambrose. Resolutely single, Ambrose delights in making Philip his heir, knowing that he will treasure his beautiful Cornish estate. But Philip's world is shattered when Ambrose sets off on a trip to Florence. There he falls in love and marries, and then dies suddenly in suspicious circumstances. Before long, the new widow, Philip's cousin Rachel, arrives in England. Despite himself, he is drawn to the beautiful, mysterious woman, but could she be Ambrose's killer? So that's Rachel Weisz, I think, on the front, because it's been made into a movie several times. So I'm excited to read that. Then this is a new one by an Irish author called Enright, and it's called Actress, and this picture actually depicts Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher. My husband has bought this for several people. He's an amazing reader. From the Man Booker winning Irish author, a brilliant and moving novel about fame, sexual power and a daughter's search to understand her mother's hidden truths. This is the story of Irish theatre legend Catherine O'Dell, as written by her daughter Nora. It tells of early stardom in Hollywood, of highs and lows on the stages of Dublin and London's West End. Catherine's life is a grand performance, while with young Nora watching from the wings. But this romance between mother and daughter cannot survive Catherine's past, or the world's damage. In the declining years of her middle age, Nora's mother commits a senseless crime. Actress is about a daughter's search for the truth, the dark secret in the bright star, and what drove Catherine finally mad. Brilliantly capturing the glamour of post-war America and the shabbiness of 1970s Dublin, Actress is an intensely moving, disturbing novel about mothers and daughters and the men in their lives. A scintillating examination of the corrosive nature of celebrity, it is also a sad and triumphant tale of freedom from bad love and from the avid gaze of the crowd. So really, I got that for Mother's Day. Then this one, actually I have two left, but I don't know if I'll fit them in. This one's called The New Mrs. Clifton by Elizabeth Buchan. As the Second World War draws to a close, intelligence officer Gus Clifton surprises his sisters at their London home. But an even greater shock is the woman he brings with him, Christa, the German wife whom he has married secretly in Berlin. Christa is clearly devastated by her experiences at the hands of the British and their allies, all but broken by horrors she cannot share. But Gus's sisters can only see the enemy their brother has brought under their roof, and their friend Nella, Gus's beautiful, loyal fiancée, cannot understand what made Gus change his mind about her. What hold does Christa have over their honourable Gus, and how can the three women get her out of their home, their future, their England? That sounds good. Another war-themed. Have I time? This is called The Beach House by Jane Green. This was passed on to me by a friend. Nan, a widow whose family has flown the nest, is an independent, free-spirited woman who couldn't care less what people think about her living alone in her beloved house. But when she discovers that money is running out and she might lose her home, she knows it's time for a drastic change. She decides to rent out rooms for the summer, and people start moving into the house, filling it with noise, laughter and tears. Among them there's Daniel, a recently divorced father of two girls who's struggling to find out who he really is, and Daphe, the single mother of a truculent teenager who blames her mother unreservedly for the divorce. As the house comes to life again, Nan finds her family extending. Her son comes home for the summer, and then an unexpected visitor turns up, turning all their lives upside down. That sounds good as well. But they're just some recommendations, as I say. Some I've read, some I haven't. I'm hoping to get through them. Let me know what your recommendations are, what books you've been reading. If you've enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and I will talk to you very soon in the next video. Bye.